In this video we will be giving Survival Hunter a second chance, another shot at love and affection from yours truly. Let's just see how well the spec is doing after I got a little bit into it. What? Oh, this? I thought I looked more like a Survival Hunter doing this from my car. Yeah, I did, yes. Hello everyone, Gyro here reporting from my Jeep. Yes, I drive a Wrangler because that's what survival hunters do, don't we? So today you're not going to be looking at me like this. I'm gonna go back to my usual recording environment. I just thought it's gonna be a little bit more fun, change of pace, give you an introduction a little bit like this to connect with you more, my friends, and thank you very much for this very solid journey on the way to 500 subscribers. It is a huge number for me. I thought you deserve something a little bit better, a little bit more of a personal kind of attempt for me to thank you all for your support and promise to you that more videos, more spirit of the channel is going to grow, more of the videos like this are going to be coming to you. Today we're going to be talking about Survival Hunter, who did deserve extra attention. Thank you, my people, who have given me a lot of different bits and pieces of information about survival hunters, and I am going to try and speak more specifically after we switch over to talking about the spec and looking a little bit more closely at it now in a few minutes, a few seconds time. And yeah, I think that the spec definitely deserved a lot more attention from me, so thank you for assisting me in embracing that fact, in basically giving it another shot rather than giving up as soon as the power check videos were recorded and it was all done. I am enjoying it a lot more now, and I'm going to demonstrate now more specifically after this slightly more ranty but hopefully personal as intended to be introduction. I'm going to be specifically talking to you, why would you play it? Why would you play it? Why would you give a survival hunter another chance like I did? Well, I'm going to be talking to you about this throughout this video. Back in the office now and ready to talk business. 10 reasons for you to play a survival hunter from my casual perspective. Reason number 1. It's the fantasy of a melee hunter, obviously being led by our champion Rexxar, primarily kind of known as the survival hunter that everyone sort of knows of. If there was a World of Warcraft trivia held at one point, that probably would be one survival hunter that most of World of Warcraft players actually know of. Rexxar is awesome, looks good, arguably, has awesome axes and just generally awesome attitude, was voiced by Chris Metzen himself. I believe he was voicing Rexxar and Thrall, and I think a couple of other less known characters in World of Warcraft when he still used to be with Blizzard and on Blizzard team. So if fantasy is something that drives your roleplay, or if something that is appealing to you, if that is anyhow important to you as a point, then that is definitely one of the reasons why you would consider playing a survival hunter, even if the survival hunters cannot dual wield like Rexxar. I'm not saying that they can, but we still look good with polearms or with spears, so to speak. Which brings me to point number 2. I do think that survival hunters, arguably very, very highly subjectively, look better than any other silhouette, look, general appearance of any other hunter spec specifically. If you think this is not important, I say you're wrong, because we care about how we look. World of Warcraft offers to us not just a first-person view, first-person shooter view, where you don't see yourself. That is why I say that, for example, skins and any of that kind of stuff are less important in, say, Overwatch. They make such a huge deal about the skins, and I know that they are successful enough, but to me it's always baffling, because you don't see your own character from a distance, you only look from your own eyes. In World of Warcraft we see ourselves all the time, so our appearance is important, and our appearance from the back, so basically the look of a weapon that is on your back, is actually quite important. It contributes quite greatly, in my opinion, to how you perceive your character. So survival hunters, in my opinion, again, looks are very subjective, right? In my opinion, one of the things that survival hunter definitely wins on are the looks. So that is the point number 2, why you would play one.
The third point is the feel of a melee class without having to switch to another actual class, without having to re-roll. So if you are a hunter, but you've been a beastmaster or marksman for quite some time, and you would like to experience the feel of a melee class and get all the best things that come with it, and maybe participate in that discussion, the further discussion that we could have had about whether or not the certain encounters are more melee friendly as opposed to ranged friendly. So the feel of a melee class without needing to re-roll your hunter into something else is one of the reasons why you would give survival a try. Absolutely, hands down. Point number 4 is the first one of the abilities that are wonderful on Survival Hunter, and it is undoubtedly the Harpoon. Harpoon is great. Harpoon is perhaps not the only reason why one would actually play survival, but once you start playing it, Harpoon becomes such a staple ability. You feel it so much, and you use it after each kill all the time in the battlefield, like moving, traversing the battlefield from the boss to the adds, or even between the kills when you're leveling. Talents of Survival Hunter allow you to spec yourself in such a way that Harpoon resets its cooldown every single time until you kill an enemy. It is less obviously useful, and there are better things like Alpha Predator talent that boosts your kill command damage as opposed to resetting the Harpoon upon kill of an enemy. So you kind of have to have trade-offs, you can't have both, but Harpoon looks so awesome, feels so awesome. Very subjective as everything else that I'm saying to you, but I totally say it would be one of the reasons why you would play survival, hands down. Another ability which is very kind of a staple ability of survival hunters, that I think is one of those that are performing well and that has been implemented well to the full extent of what one would expect from a well-performing class, are the bombs. Survival hunters throw bombs, in case you don't know. It is one of those very few buttons that survival hunters have to press, but it's a very well implemented combat system. Survival hunters' bombs can be spec'd with the help of the talents, but in essence you throw a bomb, it applies a certain debuff, and it changes a little bit how your other abilities start interacting and performing with the target. For example, if you throw a pheromone bomb on your target, then kill command will be resetting itself every single time it hits. So while pheromone bomb debuff is on the enemies, your kill command will always be coming back. You could just smash the enemy with kill commands that are critting, that are hitting hard, obviously scaling up with the better gear you have. But I love the bombs. I think they are very well implemented and definitely among the reasons why you would play it. It's a very good, meaty, nice ability. Now, reason number 6 of why you would play a survival hunter is in how few buttons you need to press. I know for a lot of people this is a completely irrelevant point, but if you know me, if you've been a supporter of this channel or even bothered to kind of take a look at how I play and all this kind of stuff, I'm inviting you, using this opportunity to invite you to join our little club if you haven't already. I like to focus on gameplay. For me, gameplay or my performance or the feeling that I'm doing well is certainly not in how many buttons I can press at the same time. My regulars really know this. I'm not gonna dive into that for too much. You are welcome to explore the channel for my other videos and commentary. But basically, the fact that Survival Hunter has so few buttons to press in order to be reasonably good, like as far as performance of a Survival Hunter is concerned, DPS and whatever they're doing on the battlefield, that is very much, it's talking to me. I love it. It's very relevant to me, and it could be relevant to you. I do not know if I'm ready to make such a finite kind of statement right now and say that with confidence, but I believe Survival Hunter is the spec, DPS spec in the game with the fewest number of buttons that you need to press to do your job. Point number 7 is again a subjective one, but it's kind of connected for me to the few buttons, to everything else that I mentioned so far. I simply subjectively believe that Survival Hunter is more fun. It's a most fun spec to play as far as hunters are concerned. I'm not gonna try and open the can of worms of comparing the spec as far as how fun it is versus other classes, because there are way too many classes and way too many specs in the game to make such a broad statement right now. But as far as hunter specs are concerned, Survival Hunter, in my opinion, is absolutely hands down most fun class. And spec, obviously. So Beastmasters are performing the best, for example, in BfA. Everyone knows it, it's a given fact. But Beastmaster hasn't changed over the years so much, and Beastmaster is arguably fairly boring. It is very pleasing, it's a pleasing spec as far as your performance is concerned, and how well you can perform without being a pro or without having top-notch gear. Absolutely, hands down, not arguing with that. But as far as how fun it feels for me to hack and slash and harpoon myself to the target and disengage and then go in again and do a whirlwind of butchery and throw a bomb and do something else, to me, honestly, Survival Hunter is most fun. And if you're anywhere remotely similar to me, or perhaps you were playing a hunter, normal classic hunter, marksman or beastmaster for too long in your World of Warcraft career, life, whatever you want to call it, I reckon Survival Hunter is going to surprise you, pleasantly surprise you with how much fun it actually is. Point number 8 is a slightly more subtle one, but it still has a room to exist in this narrative. Survival Hunters have two subtle sub-specs, if you like. I'm not a pro Survival Hunter, not claiming to be so, just sharing casual impressions with people who are similarly inclined as I am, but Survival Hunter has two sub-specs that emphasize different abilities and different kind of way to play, if you like. So you can play Survival Hunter in two different ways. I'm not going to go as far as saying that it almost feels like two different specs entirely. I don't think so, from my own very limited exploration and from what I've seen in the groups, in Mythic Plus, and everywhere where I've witnessed it. But I do know that one of the sub-specs would be emphasizing Serpent Sting and how the basically poison debuff works and how you're spreading poison debuff on the enemies. And another one is more simplistic one, the one that I am more interested in and the one that how I play the spec. It is basically the bleeds based one. So you are more of a bleeds, more of a straightforward bleeds, direct damage based Survival Hunter. I think having two solid enough sub-specs within one spec is a benefit, and it should be mentioned here. Point number 9 is the fact that you would be playing as a Survival Hunter a melee spec with a pet. It's a very obvious point, it's not a subjective one, it's just an obvious one. However, it should still be kind of emphasized as an important one. Let's say you have been playing a melee class and you want to continue playing a melee class, but perhaps something new. However, you would like to experience also a benefit of having an assistant, a damage assistant or a tank, a mini tank with you all the time in the form of a pet, obviously. Only very few classes, very few specs can boast that. We have Warlocks, we have, well, naturally Beastmasters, we have, if you consider that, we can have Unholy Death Knights, but we also can have a Survival Hunter. You are in melee range, you're not as safe as with the tank that is a ranged tank in front of you, like with Beastmastery obviously, but it's still, the pet still taunts, the pet still holds aggro of the enemy. You can still use tenacity pets, you can still use tank pets, you can still use more DPS inclined pets, more of cunning inclined pets for PvP. Having a pet with its own very limited but still set of abilities, with its own stun, with its own ability to create a light version of heroism or bloodlust, it is a huge benefit. You suddenly have an extra toolbox almost with you that helps you. It's a huge benefit that should not be underestimated. Maybe and arguably, and I'm digressing here a little bit from the main points that I want to talk to you about, but we don't have that many left, maybe this could be seen as a reason when my main complaint, and this video is not about complaints about Survival Hunter, my main complaint is that generally Survival Hunter's output of damage is fairly low when compared to other classes and other specs. However, perhaps it is done partially, at the very least partially, because they have a pet, and if you take a full advantage of the pet, of utility of a pet, of ability of the pet to contribute to your damage, to stun the enemy, to off tank if they need to, perhaps that is the trade-off that Blizzard had in mind, but I'm certainly not an apologist, so, and this is completely speculative, so I don't know. Maybe I just enjoy it at the moment, and that's why I'm talking myself into Survival Hunter a bit more. Tell me in the comments down below if you agree with any of these points, because this is a really important topic to me, and at the moment I have to honestly tell you, out of turn, that Survival Hunter is probably my most enjoyable to play out right now. Finally, point number 10, it's the potential of the spec. I know it may not seem like a current advantage that you can take, a current point that you can take immediate advantage of as someone who would reroll into a Survival Hunter right now. But I would argue that if you look at the potential of how your spec that you would familiarize yourself with right now and take some advantage of and enjoy, how it could grow, what could happen to it, then Survival Hunter, I would say, would be among the top 2 that Blizzard will likely, and I'm being hopeful here, I have no facts, right? I'm being hopeful here, will likely look at in the closest future. Yes, I know that early Shadowlands Alpha is not telling us about any substantial changes that they're making to Survival Hunters, and arguably we need them. The spec needs them. The spec feels a little disjointed. Some of the talents that are currently talents, they should be just baseline abilities. I do believe that. However, I think that Survival Hunters have been in such a tough spot for so long, and there was so much prominent feedback and continues being so much feedback from people who are playing in Shadowlands Alpha, that Blizzard will simply have no choice but to pay proper attention to Survival Hunters, if not straight away, then in one of the very close patches, the first patches of Shadowlands, like 9.1, 9.2, maybe, hopefully, that the potential is immense. The class, the spec, is due for another, if not full revamp, then at the very least for an uplift. And that alone excites me. Even if right now this is not a point that I would take advantage of immediately, yeah, as other points that I mentioned to you, I think that this is a pretty solid point of why you would invest into a Survival Hunter. Why would you create one, familiarize yourself with the spec, and why would you look forward to some further changes that will undoubtedly happen to the spec? And that is all I wanted to tell you about today, guys. I tried to keep the second part of this video very punchy, very quick and stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, then please subscribe, show your support. I really appreciate you. Thank you very much for watching. More videos are coming to you every 2 days. We talk about different alts, we talk about horrific visions, how different classes and specs are performing in them, and about all sorts of other World of Warcraft news. Stick around on the channel. Love having you here. Gyro signing off for now.